Hello and welcome to our letter of the day video. Today we're going to be talking about the letter D. The letter D looks like this. There's the uppercase and lowercase d. So when you see this, I hope you recognize, that's letter D. Let's try to write the letter D, but before we do, I'm going to blow some bubbles for you because the letter D has bubbles. A big bubble for the uppercase letter D, and a little bubble for the lowercase. Let's try to write the letter D. We're going to need to start by writing 1 and then blowing a bubble. One big bubble. So make the number 1 and then blow one big bubble. Let's see what that looks like on the handwriting house, okay? On the handwriting house, we're going to start upstairs. Then we're going to come all the way down to the green carpet. We're going to go back upstairs and blow a big bubble, just like that. So one big bubble. One big bubble. That's the uppercase letter D. Now you can pause and practice some more, or you can keep going with this video and practice later for homework. That's the uppercase letter D, and now for lowercase d, you're going to need another bubble, but this time it's going to be smaller. We're going to make the number 1, trace right back up, and blow a bubble over. The bubble's going to go to the left. You might remember that we blew a bubble for the letter B, but the bubble went to the right, to the right. Make this bubble go the other way. That's the lowercase letter D. Okay, let's look at that one on the handwriting house. So we're going to make the number 1 just like we did before. But instead of picking up our pencil, keep your pencil going, trace back up and over and blow that bubble to the left. Up and blow the bubble. Number 1 and then up and over. 1 and then up and over. How about one more? Okay, that's the lowercase letter D. Now let me tell you what letter D sounds like, okay? Letter D sounds like this. D, d, d. Can you try to make that sound? D, d, d. D says D, as in donut. D says D, d, d. Well, we're going to sing a little song. It's to help you to remember that D says D, as in donut. So I'm going to sing about a bakery shop, and then you can sing along if you'd like to. 5 little donuts in a bakery shop, round and hot with sprinkles on the top. Along came, put in your name. I'll put in Miss Kathy, and you put in your name. With $1 to pay, he or she bought a donut and ate it right away. Yum, 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 yum. Let's sing again, but let's say 4 this time, okay? If you have people in your family that would like to sing along, you can let them have a donut too. 4 little donuts in a bakery shop, round and hot with sprinkles on the top. Along came, with $1 one day, he or she bought a donut and ate it right away. Let's do 3. 3 little donuts in a bakery shop, round and hot with sprinkles on top. Along came, with $1 one day, he or she bought the donut and ate it right away. 2 little donuts in a bakery shop, round and hot with sprinkles on the top. Along came, with $1 one day, he or she bought a donut and ate it right away. One little donut in a bakery shop, round and hot with sprinkles on the top. Along came with $1 one day. He or she bought a donut and ate it right away. No more donuts left. That's a fun song you can sing tonight if you want to with your family. Okay, so now we're going to do some math. For math today, we're going to have some fun. We're going to be using a board game, and we're going to be rolling a dice and counting and moving the spaces, moving the little dog all the way through the spaces until he can get to the donut. So let's play that little game, okay? So let's roll the dice. If you'd like a copy of the board game, I'll put the link below. Okay, I'm rolling the dice. I landed on the number 4. Let's move the dog 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's roll again. 2. Can you help me count 2? 1, 2. Let's roll again. 3. 1, 2, 3. The little dog is getting closer to the donut. 1. I rolled a 1, so let's move the dog 1 space. Roll again. This time I rolled a 5. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's roll again. I rolled a 6. Let's count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We won! We helped the little doggy get to the donut. To make this a little more challenging, if you'd like to, you can write numbers on each of the spaces. So then when you roll and advance to a space, you can also say the number. This helps with number recognition. For this art project, you're just going to need 2 paper plates. And what shape is the paper plate? It's a circle. You're going to cut a circle in the middle of each of the paper plates. So there's another circle. Then you're going to use tape, and you're going to tape the 2 pieces of the 2 paper plates together all the way around. That makes it nice and puffy. It's going to be like a real donut. Next, let me turn it over and let you see. You can color it brown if you'd like, and then you can add some pink paint. That can be like the frosting on the donut. Finally, you can use some sequins if you'd like, and you can sprinkle them on, and they look like the sprinkles on the donut. That's our art project for today. For science today, we're doing something pretty fun. We're going to talk about how those donuts are so yummy and puffy and soft and fluffy. So let me ask you something. Are donuts sweet? They are. Donuts are sweet. What about bread? When you ever make a sandwich, is the bread sweet? No, not so much. Have you ever noticed that a donut is really puffy and fluffy, whereas the bread is not? It's kind of dense and hard. Well, that's because of something called yeast. Yeast is used in the dough, and what happens is when sugar is added to the yeast in the dough, it helps that yeast to make more bubbles. Now, yeast makes bubbles whether there's sugar or not, but the sugar helps there to be more bubbles. Those bubbles are carbon dioxide. Have you ever broken open a donut and looked inside and seen lots of little holes? Those are where the bubbles have popped. The more bubbles, the more fluffy. And that's why donuts are super fluffy and puffy and delicious, because sugar helps the yeast to blow more bubbles so it can rise. Okay, so I have 2 jars here. In both of the jars, I put some warm water. In the first jar, I added a teaspoon of sugar. In both the jars, I added a teaspoon of yeast. So let's see which one has more bubbles. So this is the jar with the sugar. Do you see all the bubbles forming? And this is the jar without the sugar, no bubbles. So if you predicted that the jar with sugar would produce more bubbles, you were right. I have a jar that I've been letting sit, so let me show you all the bubbles that the yeast and the sugar made in this jar. Look at all those bubbles. So that was pretty cool. Sugar helps the yeast make more carbon dioxide bubbles, which makes the donuts nice and fluffy. Okay, I have a story to read to you today for story time. It's called If You Give a Dog a Donut. And this story is by Laura Numeroff. You might remember that she's the same author that wrote If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. If You Give a Dog a Donut by Laura Numeroff. Illustrated by Felicia Bond. That means she drew the pictures. If you give a dog a donut, he'll ask you for some apple juice to go with it. When you give him the juice, he'll drink it all up. Then he'll ask for more. There won't be any left, so he'll want to make his own. He'll go outside to pick apples. When he's up in the tree, he'll toss you one. Throwing the apple will make him think of baseball. He'll want to play. You'll have to get a ball and a glove. Of course, he'll also need a bat. He'll ask you to pitch. He'll hit a home run. Then he'll do a happy dance to celebrate. Dancing will make him hot and dusty, so he'll need some water. He'll probably start a water fight. You'll have to dry him off with your bandana. He'll wrap it around his head and pretend that he's a pirate. Then he'll want to go on a treasure hunt. He'll find an old kite and want to make one himself. You'll have to get him some sticks and paper and string. When the kite is finished, he'll want to fly it. It will go higher and higher and higher in the sky until it gets tangled up in the apple tree. The tree will remind him of apple juice, so he'll probably ask you for some. And chances are, if he asks you for some apple juice, he's gonna want a donut to go with it. Well, I hope you had fun today learning about letter D and donuts. Maybe you can make a donut in art, practice your blends, and play the board game. Help that doggy get some more donuts. I'll see you next time for our letter of the day. Goodbye.